Okay, so if you have that issues, just play around with the concrete gradients here. Let me see, preview this. And preview this. I don't even remember how I changed these, because it was okay the last time I checked. So you can see what we have. Just need to make sure that these are aligning correctly. And now these faces here also need a different material. So for that, I can just go to edit mode, select those faces, assign them a new material. It will also be wood, so let's find some good wood texture. I just use this here. Let me find a better texture and see. Log texture. Let's get this here. So I have this here. Let's see. Let's instead use this here. So this log here. So we can unwrap again, then scale these up around something like that. If we go to textured mode, you get something that is a bit like that. We should work, but I think every face here, let me select this again. So select, so every face should be the size of that. So yeah, so something like that maybe. Like this. Actually, this is not that. It is this image here. This one here. Oh, not that actually. Image texture. Let me just drag it directly from my browser. Again, we can use a color ramp to change its color. We'll pick some colors directly there. Add in a few colors to make it more interesting. Use this for the roughness. Again, add a color ramp, convert color ramp to control the roughness. Also, we can invert the color here to invert the roughness a bit. Let's first preview this. I just need this again for the normal map, so I'll add a vector bump map for the height and then normal. Can reduce the strength 2.3. So now that we have that done, we can continue with making this shape exactly what we want. So I can just go into layout mode, select, if I want to make another wall, I can just duplicate this maybe let me turn on shadings here. Maybe scale this. You see, even when you scale it down, there is not, because it's wood, you don't see that much different in the textures, that much texture stretching. So we can use that to our advantage. Maybe scale this as well. I'll center the origin to the geometry. Maybe you can scale this a bit, and can scale this down, or we can bring this around here. Scale this so that it's not intersecting. And see, we'll have something like that. Maybe I need to scale this a bit so that the door is of a good size. I see this here. You can see that there is some variation. I think we can come in here, select a few of these polygons and extend them like that. It should give us some variation that is needed. Let's see. I don't know why that messes up a lot of the texturing. So let's go back to shading and play around with the gradient so that we reduce that concrete material, which is controlled up here. I think that is caused because we're using the generated texture coordinates, and every time you change the object shape or size, that will affect the generated texture coordinate, which will mess up our gradient here. Let's see if we use the UVs. I think it's going to mess up our gradient even further. So let's see. Yeah, let's just stick to generated or object. Let's try object. Oh, we messed up everything. Let me try undoing this and see. Yeah, let's just leave everything to object like that. Now we can create this wall, make this wall here. So Shift D. Let me go back to layout. Shift D. Rotate this 90 degrees. And bring back my reference image here. Just make sure that everything is well aligned. Scale this like that, and we can cut out a space. We're not going to use any subdivision surface, so that will also make it easy for us to cut out spaces for windows using booleans. So let me hide this part here. So just add a cube. Push it in like that, and go to modifiers, turn on booleans, and select this object and change this to difference. You can also select the object and go to its data settings, and then viewport display, change it from texture to wire, so that you can see the cutout. So the space for the windows, so that will be our space for the window. I think we can also do the same for this door instead of just cutting it out like that. So I'll select, scale this something like that, select this, just so that I only use one object. I'll just go to edit mode, Shift D, bring it here, Then select this, add the boolean modifier, then select that object, turn this to difference, but we need this to be our door. So cut it like that. You can see how interesting this workflow is. You can easily make changes while even seeing, while previewing what you're doing directly. So we can again duplicate this for this second window, scale this down, scale it in the Z direction as well. And see what we have. You can duplicate this like that. And if you want, you can also just make another log, shift a circle. Let's have 8 or 6 vertices. Let's make 8, so that is rounded. It has good resolution, so rotate this 90 degrees. I'll scale this down and go to edit mode, extrude. I'll UV unwrap this. First, let's make sure to mark the UVs, the seams, mark seam, and then unwrap. Then we can give this the texture coordinate, the same material. Turn on smooth shading. Go to UV. Rotate these 90 degrees because remember we were doing that for all our materials. And I think this should be, what material is this? Is it this? Okay, I think it's this. But because this is just going to be a material for a single log, we don't need this adhesive, or do we? We don't. So we can create a log material, matte, and for that it will only use the log texture like that. So let's go back to layout. You can scale it and so scale it in the Y direction, make it extended like that. So we will be putting that there. I can also make a duplicate of this using Alt D to make an instance duplicate. So I think the ambient occlusion is too much here, so we can go to shading, and also we won't be needing this mask here, so the concrete mask and the concrete shader, so we can go on and remove those two. So this is the mask and the shader, so I can delete them. You can see it doesn't affect our log material, so but the ambient occlusion is too overpowered, so let me reduce that. And I think we can add some variation between the material here. Okay, I made a mistake here. I didn't make a copy of the log material, so I need to make it, so call this single log. shouldn't have this top part, this other shader. You should only use that. And the ambient occlusion should not be overpowered. Also need to scale this down. Let's go back to layout. Duplicate this, maybe scale this up a bit. Alt D, scale this down. We can scale this just to have some kind of variation. In our tree, in our shape here. I also think we can add some color variation in this material. So if we go to shading, and so the color of this log is provided by this object here, is this by this ramp. So before we feed it to the ambient occlusion, we can add an input object data, object info, use the random node, mix it with a car ramp, with another car ramp. So let me show you how this works. So if we change this to constant, and I give this maybe blue color, sorry, pink color, and this blue color like that, connect the random color like this. You see, it will randomize the colors we add here. So if we add another color in here, you can see how it's randomizing the different logs. So we can add a blending mode. You can blend this color with, say, the wood material. Maybe change this to overlay so that it affects the color of the logs. But these colors are too unnatural logs, so we just create a set of variation here that is not, maybe we'll have a few dark logs there. Something like that. And then that will be the color that is fed into that will be multiplied in there. The variation is still too much, so let's see if we change from overlay to lighten. We're losing a lot of details, so let's see multiply. Maybe let's try overlay again, but just reduce the factor, just change the factor a bit. And see, there is some slight variation. Just Need to select this, Shift D, mirror them like that. Let's go back to layout. You can also just select this wall, let's do Shift D, duplicate this on this axis, and also duplicate this like that. Then if we want a window here, we can even put the window between these. So just come to this boolean mesh, select this here, Shift D, and connect it here. You can see we have our window, and it's between the two logs. So if I hide this, you can see we have that. So you can come in, select this, Shift D, use it for this side. Need to mirror this. You can see how this workflow is really interesting. Mirror this. Move this back so that they are not intersecting. And if you want, instead of throwing on a roof like this, we can just use these logs as our roof. Make sure to add in some variations by scaling it up and down, scaling the different logs up and down. Maybe you can select this here, Alt D, mirror this in the X, or let's just rotate it. We can select this log and put it just there. I think these are two, they look more like sausages than concrete. So I think it's this color here. Great, I think that's good variation. I'm getting some good variation there, which is great. So again, we just duplicate this and I use it for this side. I think we have a nice house. So again, we can also select one of the logs, Shift D, rotate them, clear rotation, rotate it 90 degrees, and let's scale it to this size. Maybe for this we can give it, instead of it being that round, we can remove this loop and this bottom loop, so that is flat, more flat like that, and then we can use it as a base, as the base for our building. So if you want variation like we have here, that color, slight color variation, you're just going to duplicate this a few times, or if you don't want that variation, you can use the array modifier to make the base. But I think that variation is nice, so I'll just use Alt D to duplicate this a few times so that we have that slight variation. Maybe let's also give this a bit color. So this shouldn't be that dark. So it seems that this is also being it's affecting the roughness of the image of the logs, which I don't want. So I'm just going to use this directly so that the roughness is not affected when we change the color we have here. And I can see we have that. You can also add in another color just to make things a bit more interesting. Then I think in the next tutorial we can look at how to make the environment, and yeah, but for now this is what we have. And see, that's what we have. And thank you for watching.